welcome everyone on YouTube to the second half of building the Fallout PIP Boy 2000 Mark 6 kit. So when we last left, this is about where we got to, and we have a few bits left to assemble. I've already put them out on the table, and so why don't we just get started. As always, I'll be keeping an eye on chat. A little bit different than last time. I've got the screen in front of me, so don't be surprised if I'm looking away from you when I'm answering some of the questions. But let's get to the table view and we can start working on this. So there's our decal sheet and our instructions. And we last left off right here. So we'd assembled this piece, so our dial is more or less working, and we've got our rocker switch and various other buttons that are functioning. And I commented several times about wanting to make an actual functional version of this. I mean, obviously not like, you know, with Geiger counter and everything. Don't get me wrong. It's super cool to do it with a Geiger counter. But, yes, precision screwdrivers. Because while their screwdrivers are lovely, they do not fit well in my hand. So, I think I just want to tighten up these couple screws on the back here. If we can. I feel like that's as tight as it's going to get. All right. So, our next piece is evidently to take this coiled wire. And where's it going to go? So, this port here into there. All right, so we put that in there, and this piece is going to go, feels a little on the loose side. Is that really where it's supposed to go? Yeah, no, that is 100% its final destination. I wonder if, nope, that is just as loose. I wonder if the intention here is for me to glue that in place. I mean, it stays put right now. I may wind up coming back and gluing that later. I really would rather not glue any of the pieces, but you do what you kind of got to do. Because I don't think it would go on any other side. Alright. So our next step is the cuff. Oh! Those plastic pieces. Where did those plastic pieces go? Be right back. Well, that's somewhat embarrassing. I think I might have actually thrown out some pieces that I needed, since they are not in here. And I'm wondering if they were in the top insert that I threw out when I was cleaning up after last session. So, what we've got are these three pieces here are supposed to plug into, so it's these three plastic bits here that theoretically would plug into that side. And then we would further affix it with some Chicago screws. 104, 105, 106, 107. Okay. So the idea would be those would go there, and then the cuff gets affixed to this by Chicago screws. Okay, so I'm going to have to figure out a solution for that. In the meantime, let's do the rest of the build, and I'll figure out how I'm going to sort out that cuff later. So, here's my Chicago screws. And they look all the same size, so that's convenient. So that's a lesson. Be cautious when you're assembling something like this, a piece that may appear to be trash, because it didn't, honestly, they didn't fit with the aesthetic of how everything else was going together. They seemed out of place. And so now I have created an opportunity. Let's call it an opportunity. I'm betting I can probably get a couple of screws, something a little larger, self-tapping, and put them through, and they'll serve just as well. So, let's, you know what? I'm also going to close the door so that way we don't have any other audio bleeding in from outside. All right. So I hope you are staying safe and sheltering in place. Well, you don't have to shelter in place here in Canada, in British Columbia, but physically distancing yourselves from people, as hard as that may be. It is not the end of the world for sure. Okay. There we go. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to push all of the Chicago screws through, I'm trying to get it lined up in the camera, through their respective pieces, and then get them attached to the device. So we got those two, and then two more. If you've never used these, I've used them for a number of different purposes. Probably not always when they were the most appropriate for doing some armor work. For my SCA armor, I like them better than rivets in a lot of cases. Not anything super structural, but even sometimes I've used them as temporary solutions. If I've had an armor failure, they are, again, not a good permanent solution, but I don't have an issue with them as a temporary solution. And you know what? These are large enough, probably magnetic, so I'll use the big screwdriver. And just get them secured at this point. And then we can go back and tighten them up because the bottoms also have a Phillips screw head, so I can put one screwdriver down in there. Oops, let's get that. There we go. And the final one. All right. I'd like to take a moment to thank my buddy Matt. For Christmas, he got me this wicked microphone, which is not on camera, obviously, that I'm using tonight. He knew I was getting into the YouTube and streaming and stuff, and he's like, he wanted to do something for me, which was awesome. I got another microphone from my dad for Christmas, which was also awesome. And it has a few more features than this one. So it's my daily driver. I use it all the time. It's a Yeti. The one that my dad got me was a Yeti Blue. This one from Matt is, I can't remember the brand. But it doesn't, oh, and that one did not go in at all. Come out. And now the bottom part is out. Come on. Fiddling around. It's funny, I brought the stream ahead of me, and I've never really watched the stream live. I had it on my phone last week, but to see how far, what the time difference. So what I'm doing is a few seconds ahead of what you're seeing. There's just, I'm assuming, some sort of transcoding that YouTube's doing in between, as opposed to, say, Twitch, where the interaction is a few, maybe a second or two delayed most of the time. I have Twitch and this set for the lowest latency. I'm not competitive enough when I'm gaming on Twitch to worry about someone watching me. If they feel I'm that big of a threat, then there's still enough of a delay that they won't. It's not getting any tighter. But honestly, I've got this screwdriver, which is easier. Sorry, anyone listening on headphones, bumping the microphone. Bad form and all. But yeah, I'm not really concerned about those sorts of issues when I'm streaming on Twitch, which I do every Sunday night. Although I have decided that because I had to work on Saturday, which I do from time to time, I work in IT, upgrades need to happen, because upgrades don't necessarily care about pandemics. So mandatory upgrade needed to go in on the weekend in support of other services that are essential. I'm essential service adjacent. I'm not really essential. The software could run without me fine. But anyway, this update had to happen. And because, like so many people, there's this general blah floating around. Even if you're working and everything's fine, which I know a lot of people are not, and I feel for everyone who's struggling in these times. There's just a sense of suck out there, and that drags on everyone. Okay, so leave that cuff out for now because I have to. Realistically, it could sit there and attach to this with the Velcro. And once it's on the wrong arm. But once this strap is on, it probably won't make that much of a difference. And honestly, It's again one of those pieces that you could probably replace with some leather or something. I don't know. All right, so we've got that attached. What is next? Assuming you haven't missed another piece. Okay, so we have. All right, so 109. It's a Velcro strip. 11. 112. Okay. Got these. And that button goes in there. And I think these springs go inside. Not the two of them together. Let's get them separated. There we go. So this spring's going to go in there. Keep that button pressed, basically. So let's do that on the other one. Get that sorted. That's the easiest spring installation we've had in this whole kit. Don't worry, I love this kit. I absolutely want to get another one because I don't want to wreck this one any worse than I already have. Alright, so... Oh, that's backwards. Now I gotta find a spring. Oh, metal rod. Metal spring. Little spring. Alright. So... actually goes in there like that, which actually probably makes this spring probably seats in there nicer. All right, let's get this one flipped over and not lose the spring. All right. I see, and that is where these little pins come in. So that little pin's going to go in there all the way through. And the pressure of the spring will keep it in place. Here's the other one. I'm sure these will act as some sort of locking mechanism along the way. So we got those done. 115. We are going to take this piece. Okay. Section. And the long rod. So that goes in there. Slide along in there. And the presence of the rod will keep it from popping out. And then these get attached with this. Get them finger tight to start with. Or at least started, and then grab the relevant hex key, because these are, I feel like they're only going to fit in one direction. that one's sideways. There we go. All right, so let's take a look at these instructions a bit closer. Okay, so they go to there. There, that makes sense. It seats better there for sure. Instructions aren't bad. But I would not complain about something a little bit clearer. Okay. So then we're going to take this piece and this. Do not need this drill bit right now. So I think it's going to go in this way. All right, let's get this oriented correctly. So we've got that like this. So this is going through the top. This goes into the bottom like so. That makes sense. All right. Okay, so then that's going to be these. Which screws does it want me to use? The flathead ones. These ones. See, it's only taken me the whole build to figure out. Geez, Jason, you need to use the right screws sometimes. But as I said, I didn't figure tonight's build would necessarily be super long. But that's okay. We can talk about other things. So for instance, the post I made on Facebook Monday. So while I was streaming on Sunday, because there are now only 3 days in the week. There are 4 days, pardon me. There are 4 days in the week. There is Saturday and Sunday, and you know those if you're working because they're the days you don't work, and then you know them if you aren't working because they are the days that everyone's at the grocery store. And then there's Monday, which if you're working, you know, because that's the day you have to get up on time to do your job. Whether that's working from home or going into the office or whatnot. I need a smaller. There we go. Going into the office or whatnot. And so, you know, Monday. But for me, after that, it all blurs together. So they are now Blurs Day. So I recognize today is Wednesday. Things like board game night, digital board games, but having that helps me keep track of what's going on in the passage of time, because otherwise it could very easily just be day in. Like, I'm at this desk Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, except for this Friday when I'm working, or when I'm taking the day off, pardon me, not working. And I'm trying to find a better angle. This is a better angle for me to work at it. Oh man, I don't particularly care for this screwdriver much either. I feel like I've got, you know what, maybe this precision one will be better. So Thursdays I got board game night. Wednesdays I try to put a video up. And while sometimes video goes up early, or I don't get a video up because stuff happens. Anyway, I am digressing in a big way. Yeah, all 4 of these are the same screw. Feels like that one's a pain. Oh, this has gotten off unseated. Okay. Anyway, the channel, the purpose of All About the Geek. It is my way of sharing the things that I love doing, whether it's model making, assembling a kit like this. I do eventually plan to do some actual hobbying on stream with the plethora of material that you see behind me in various videos and streams. What the heck did I do with this one? Wow. I'm going to stab myself with this stupid screwdriver. That is my intention, 100%. I don't want to just... This needs to get out of the way. Do more hobbying and share it. Regardless of whether you're amazing at it, if it's the first time you're doing a thing, or the millionth time and you are the best at whatever it is. So, you know, I've got my friend Sheila, who's just a phenomenal singer, and she is like a renowned expert on Norse singing. Like, how cool is that, right? Like, she's someone people go to and say, hey, I want to know more about this thing, and she can tell them everything. All right. So what the heck, did I cross-thread that, or what? No, cut my fingers though. This is now a real project because I've bled on it. But anyway, whether you're an expert or a noob, that doesn't matter. It's all valuable. So, for me, that's really the essence of All About the Geek and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm just going to make sure that my phone doesn't beep at me anymore during the stream, because that's rude. Okay, back to this thing in there. It's going to fold this way. I'm not convinced I've got this in there the right way. That does appear to be correct. All right. Because this is going to then go like that. All right. So that goes like that. This goes through there. And these clamp around it. Alright, everything's tight. So I'm going to start with these screws, because those are the ones I should have started with to begin with. Anyway, so regardless of where you're at, I mean, I stream every Sunday night playing World of Tanks primarily, not because I'm the best at World of Tanks. I haven't had a lot of people comment that I'm one of the calmer people they watch on Twitch, especially in World of Tanks, which can get fairly competitive. And part of that's just, I've got places I want to be competitive, and worrying about how competitive I am in a game with pixel tanks is not the place I'm worried about it. Yeah, I'm bleeding on my piece here. I'll clean that up later. So I don't get overly concerned about it. If my team is below average, which happens, that's fine. I will play my best, and I will occasionally get frustrated if people are being excessively dumb. But I definitely am not. I will ask people to stop being such a bot. Basically means that I think that it would be just as easy if they had it. They'd be playing as well if they had just some program pretending to play World of Tanks, or pretending to be them playing World of Tanks. So don't mind me if I suck my finger periodically. It's just dealing with the blood. Should probably actually stop. I've got Kleenex and shop towels right there. That's not blood. So I'm just bleeding from the one finger. It's not a big deal. But yeah, so I don't worry about it. I play, I have a good time. People watch me or they don't. I encourage you to come out and hang out. I try to pay attention to what's happening on stream, the questions. Just like now, there are 0 questions right now, which is fine. I mean, realistically, I have currently an audience or subscriber base of 30 people, which isn't bad. I've done 0 advertising. I'm not in a high profile area. I'm not, like, my content isn't in the big YouTube audience areas, and I don't care. That's not, I never started this as a point. The point was never exclusively to turn this into a profitable venture. It's something I wanted to give a shot because it gets me some FaceTime, whatever you want to call it. Gives me an audience. Even if that audience is a couple of my friends who otherwise don't see my face because we live miles apart. Social distancing. Physical distancing. I'm trying to stay with the physical distancing. I much prefer the term physical distancing because I'm still trying to be social. Board games, digital board games every Thursday night, remember? But one of the things I realized is that I'm learning a lot about YouTube, about making videos as I'm doing this, because, you know, I'm not experienced at this process. This is all largely new to me. I mean, I'm a graduate of the YouTube University. I spent 6 months from about July, from the day that I determined the name of my channel, which was mid-July. I finally settled on All About the Geek and secured the YouTube name, the Facebook name, the Instagram account, the Twitter account, email account, all that I got done 6 months before I even shot my first video. And then I started watching videos on how to make YouTube videos. What's important? What are the things that draw people to it? What makes people click your thumbnail over other thumbnails? And there's a lot of theories. Like the what I really learned in all that is there's a lot of ideas, and there's some that are probably more accurate than others. And I try to follow those because science. So if you can apply science in other areas, one should. Theoretically, that locks that in place. And then doing that loosens it. So that's how you would tighten it. All right. So the next thing is then we take these, and in theory, those buckles, those buttons, those springs are going to hold it in place, except they don't. There we go. So now, theoretically, put this thing on. It's fallen out. I feel like there should be something to hold this in there. Now I've got to take it off. Here. Try to get it back in. There. And realistically, this is going to be more of a display piece anyway. So we've got that, and now theoretically, should be able to pop this down. Unless I don't think I installed this upside down. Theoretically, I should be able to pop that cassette in here. But I can't. So I'll deal with that later. But yeah. Nail clipper. There we go. I have completed, with some challenges, missing nut, wrong screws in here, misplaced some pieces. I feel a bit like an idiot, but I have completed the build. This bolt, I feel, should be covered, but I don't see anything in the documentation that says that it would be. I could adjust that, but otherwise, I'm happy with it for sure. Yeah. So where I was going with my whole diatribe a moment ago was that I've decided that I can do a playlists in YouTube, and right now, while I'm trying to learn how to do more with my videos, and that's really one of my goals that I've decided to do for myself, is with every video, try to improve some aspect of it, not just in the editing, but in the composition, in the planning going into the video, and all of those pieces. But that means it's going to take me longer to produce the most interesting videos. So for instance, my video on the Boba Fett Lego helmet, I shot a ton of video over the weekend, and I went back and looked at it, and I'm like, I don't like it. Like, straight up, it just did not have the look I wanted, and I'm not going to disassemble the whole helmet and start over again. So I'm going to, as a lot of people are doing these days, pivoting to adjust, and instead it's going to be more of a review video. I'll talk about some of the cool things that I loved, but for the most part, it's going to be about my impressions on the build, going over the pieces and stuff, but I can do some cool B-roll shots of the various Lego kits I have, overlay some music, some B-roll of the helmet, talk about that, some voiceover work, and just try to cut together a really lovely video. So it's going to take me a little bit longer than I planned. Other things, as I'm going through and doing builds that aren't working out the way I wanted, rather than pushing out a product that I'm less than happy with, case in point, this was like literally one of the first videos I did. And there's lots of things about this concept of this brush case that I love, but it was not super well conceived, mostly in that I sat down to start, or I was talking to some friends about this video I was going to make, and they're like, oh, that sounds cool, but what you're planning seems really advanced. Maybe you should do something that's more off the shelf. And I thought, that's really a good idea. So I just quickly grabbed some off the shelf stuff and sat down and shot the video. And I hadn't pre-tested things, I hadn't done these things, and it was like, wow, that did not turn out the way I wanted. And so that's what I want to change. I want to be a bit more thoughtful in what I'm doing. I have theoretically some process in place, but I want to start actually using it. And that's what I'm thinking about. But in the meantime, because I still want to put content up every week, as I'm doing these things, I'm thinking, my thought processes might be something that's going to help someone else down the road. So I'm going to do a series on All About the Geek that I'm calling NoobTube. We all know what noobs are. We've used it as a derogatory term. We've used it as a term of endearment for new people participating in our hobbies. And I'm going to take it in the most positive way and do what everyone should do when there's someone new to a hobby or a platform or something, and that's help them be better. So I'm going to share my experiences in the 3 months that I've been doing this, which isn't lots. I will be very clear up front that I'm not an expert. These are just the pitfalls that I've experienced and some ideas on how to bypass them going forward. And that will be the content, because that can be pretty straightforward. It's a talking head video. I can put together some bullet points, film the video, but even those I want to do better. So rather than just rambling like I'm doing now, and I'm quite comfortable doing, quite honestly, I'm going to make salient points, have them there, do the talking point, and if I get off topic, cut, start again with the next point, and have more cuts in my videos, edit them together better, and use that as well as part of creating a better product. Because it's not just about grinding videos. Like, I could just grind out videos of mediocre quality like I have been, and that would be fine. But if I'm going to do a thing, I want to do it well. I'm not worried about being the best YouTuber. I'm not trying to compete with PewDiePie or Linus Media Groups, or even some of my favorites like Adam Savage, obviously, or Bitwit, or Paul's Hardware. Those are all great channels that have various good things to offer, and they're all professional. That's what they do for a living. But that doesn't mean I can't aspire to be better about what I do and provide a better content and grow an audience and hopefully a community that is encouraging to others to try to do new things, experience new hobbies, and share that with everyone, whether that's through YouTube, through Twitch, in person, teaching classes, what have you. All of what I'm doing is about taking the 40 years of knowledge that I've gained on a billion different things and my willingness to try new things. So one of the things, LED lighting and soldering and electronics, never really done it. But I'm not afraid to try it, learn it, and share that experience with you. That is also leading to another thing. I'm looking at 2 different types of videos in the more processed or more produced areas. So there'll be making a thing video, which would be kind of along the lines of, say, like your tasty videos where, you see a bowl of flour and then some other things go in it and then they snap their fingers and you've got a cake. more or less, the steps going along, all the ingredients, things, do it. But I also want to do process videos. So when I'm working out a project, so let's say I get my hands on another Pip Boy and I'm going to break it down. I would love to then break that into a series of things that I do, a series of videos that go through each of the pieces as I look at each module. How do I make that effective? How do I make that functional? And then do those pieces, and as I'm working through the process, and be upfront with people about it. This is a process video. This is the quick how-to guide, and I'll label them thusly. So if people don't want to watch me futz around for half an hour, like the perfect example of something that I'm working on that is going that way, but I've taken such a 180-degree turn on how I'm going to approach it, means that what I've done so far is going to get scrapped, is my drawer here that you can't see is an absolute mess. Let's just tilt this camera, you'll be able to see it a little bit. So this drawer is empty right now, but normally, it's not really empty. It doesn't have a lot of stuff in it, but it used to be crammed to the crammed full of stuff. Let's tweak that back. So I was working on a series or a video on how to build custom inserts, and I decided I didn't like what I was doing with it. I didn't like the way I was going. So that one, rather than be a snap video alone, kind of like what's happening with the helmet, I'm instead just going to do a bit more of experimentation, and then once I come to the conclusion on the model I'm going to use for fixing it, then I'll film that, and I'll film the process, and also film at the same time this is the drawer now. This is the drawer completed, and these are what I used to fix it. And then if you want to see the details on how I built these 4 things, go watch this other video. That way, people who want the quick fix can have it, and the people who want all the detail can have both. Because it doesn't take me that much longer, in the filming at any rate, to film those 2 things. It'll take me longer in post, and one will go up before the other. Likely the process video will go up first, and then the quick fix will go up afterwards. But I think that's a good way for me to do all of the things that I want, which is work through my process with people so people can see how others go through the process. Because that's like watching Adam Savage when he's doing a 1-day build, especially his live streams, when he's working on things and he's stream of consciousness, not just talking, but working through the problem. I find that really valuable. And while I don't have his 30 years experience in effects and all of the knowledge that goes along with that, I do have a fair bit of knowledge in modeling. I have knowledge in working with what you've got, and also an understanding on how to adapt as you're doing these things. Plus, I really like to just ramble and share that with people, which I'm doing right now. In any case, I really think that's where I'm going to call it tonight. Shorter stream, only 45 minutes, but that's all right. It's not like people are watching the full 2 hours from last week right yet anyway. Still a lovely piece. My intention now is to build a stand for it, probably inside the original box, so I can display it up on the shelf. Probably put some hinges in the box, that way it can be propped partly up, and then have this kind of sitting there as a display piece. It's until I get a couple of things sorted, like this piece, and maybe getting this to be a more functional strap, and like I said, get this other leather piece attached, and then maybe I'll just glue it. I don't know. It's not super functional as a prop, and I'd really like to do something more advanced, especially since, let's face it, no cons this year. Like I've just come to the conclusion, for my own headspace, there's not going to be any cons. No ECC. Yes, they've got dates in August. I'm not going. PAX has said they're still going forward. I've made the decision not to go. In fact, I've already decided to reallocate that money into a cool little toy for my stream. Like, realistically, it's not critical. It's not a piece of tech that I need. I really should be working. I should focus on content versus gear. But I am as my friend Kurt would say, a bit of a consumer whore. And so, yeah, so I'm going to get myself a TC Helion Go XLR for streaming. And also just for when I'm playing. Like, honestly, when I'm playing games with my friends, I sometimes get stuck tweaking the game sound, tweaking the Discord audio, and being able to do that on the fly would be really nice, because some of my friends talk at various levels. Being able to play with it would be great. Not just for streaming, but for my everyday. But I think that's it for now. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking this out, and I hope that you like and subscribe if you liked it. I hope you subscribe if you enjoyed the content, or the content that I have told you is coming. At this point, I'm just doing it because I love it, and I hope to still be doing this 5 years from now, because this actually, for the last 3 months, even the extra work and the time it takes away from my girlfriend is fun. And she's happy to indulge what I'm calling my midlife crisis hobby. This is much cheaper than a Ferrari, but I don't know why I would want a Ferrari. I've really become an SUV person. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Sorry I've digressed a bunch and rambled for the last 20 minutes. As always, work your wonk, wash your damn hands, and keep it geeky.